Hey folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I'm having a wonderful day. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. I know we had a bunch of new stations join us today, so really happy that you can be with us. The list was a long list. I don't want to go over every one of them. But if you're just joining us, I am Dr. Joe Esposito. I'm board certified in chiropractic, board certified in orthopedics, double board certified in nutrition, board certified in pain management, BS in nutrition, retired dietitian, award-winning author, and this show, hopefully you're going to learn lots of good stuff on it. Obviously you will. Everyone else does. It's heard coast to coast and around the world, so I'm really glad that you're all here. And if you're a regular listener, welcome. Welcome back. We're talking today about chronic stress and what that does to disease. And it was funny because right before I went on the air, I was talking to one of my coworkers, Johnny, and he says, what if you have chronic stress and you're depressed? And I said, ooh, that's a whole nother show in itself right there, Johnny. But stress is a big issue, and we keep hearing all these things about stress. I have stress. I'm stressed out. Are you stressed out? What does that mean? From a physiological standpoint, what's happening to your body? Now, psychological stress can take a tremendous toll on your health. One of the reasons for this is because stress causes something called inflammation. Now, this is the hallmark of almost all diseases, from obesity to diabetes to heart disease to cancer. So when the body has inflammation, the immune system is now challenged because the immune system's job is to fight the inflammation, bring down that inflammation as quickly as possible. And when it comes to the immune system, you only have so many soldiers. And if you have a lot of inflammation and you have a bad diet and you have mechanical stress and physical stress and emotional stress, you're using up your warriors, so to speak. And eventually what's going to happen is the disease will set in because your immune system is just being spread too thin. Now, most recently, a study done on mice found that when animals are under chronic stress, their lymphatic system underwent changes that allowed things like cancer to spread more quickly and more easily. Now, what is the lymphatic system? You may have heard that word before and go, what the heck is that? Well, you have a circulatory system. Circulation pumps blood, of course, through your body. Now, your lymphatics are the filter system in the body. And you have glands in your called lymph glands, and they filter out junk, viruses, germs, bacteria, dead cells. And so when you're sick, sometimes these glands swell up, like in your throat. And if you have swollen glands in your throat, that's the lymphatic system filtering out whatever's caused the infection, viruses, germs, bacteria. And the swollen glands are just telling you that the lymphatic system is just being overwhelmed. Because normally the lymph glands break down whatever the bad guy is. It goes into the lymphatic system, and then eventually it flushes itself out of the body. But when there's changes in the lymphatic system, that's a highway for things like cancer cells to travel and then set up shop other places in the body. Now, this study hasn't been replicated on humans, but it's a huge step toward understanding how stress, which has long been linked to cancer progression, actually allows tumor cells to escape. So the lymphatic system changes its function. Cancer cells can get into the lymphatic system, run through the body, set up shop somewhere else. Not for a minute are we suggesting that somebody who's been diagnosed with cancer should not be stressed, because that would be a problem in itself. You're supposed to have stress. It's how your body functions. Cold weather can be stress. Hot weather can be stress. So your body has to have some stress. It's controlling the stress, which controls the inflammation, which takes the lymphatic system kind of not offline, but prevents it from functioning abnormally. And that's how you stop the spread of things like cancer. One way. I'm not saying always, but one way. What you do is we take patients. We see a lot of cancer patients. And again, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not treating their cancer. I'm treating their body so we can take the stress off the body so the body heals. And it suggests that stress not only affects patients' well-being, but also gets into the body and affects how the tumors progress. Because the more stress we're under, the faster it grows. Now, it's kind of a catch-22. Because if you have something like cancer, and I come to you and I give you a diagnosis of cancer, you're not going to be happy. You're going to have stress just from knowing that you have a disease. So what we have to do is we have to control the other forms, the other things that you have control over, your diet, your digestion, your structure. If you have pinched nerves can be a stress. And so as a chiropractor, patients come to us all the time and they have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling. Well, that's a physical stress. That's usually something that's very easy to manage. If I give you a diagnosis, whatever that diagnosis is of a bad disease, that one you're going to have to deal with. But the neck pain, the back pain, that's usually pretty easy. We find the bones that are out of place, put them back in place. When we do that, we unpinch the nerves. That takes the physical stress off the body. Also, if bones are out of alignment, if muscles are spasmed, that causes inflammation. And so now we have inflammation coming from several different areas. And your diet is a big player when it comes to the chemical stress. And the chemical stress is you eating the bad foods. Now, so many people eat what we call the standard American diet, the SAD diet, SAD, standard American diet. And the standard American diet consists of things like alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. I know that's your whole diet, isn't it? Now you're mad at me. No, that's what most people eat. What I call the 7 deadly sins of nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And when you're putting these foods in your body has to break these foods down the best they can. It goes into the stomach, gets absorbed, goes into the liver, and the liver has to detoxify or break these things down into absorbable components, extract whatever nutrients it can out. And then also if there's waste product in there, junk, heavy metals, mercury, lead, polyvinyl chloride, these things then have to be processed in the liver. Once again, putting a stress on the liver, and now you're spreading out your warriors, your immune system. And so when other things set up shop, it's a lot harder for the immune system to fight it off. So how does stress promote the spread of cancer? Cancer cells typically spread throughout the body via the blood systems or through lymphatic systems. So if you're under stress, the cancer cells can travel through this malfunctioning lymphatic system and cause a problem. Folks, I'm going to have to go to a break. I archive all my radio shows. I've got hundreds of hours of radio shows archived on my website. You can go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. And when you put in Dr. Joe, my website will come up. You listen to radio shows. I videotape my live lectures. By the way, check my live lecture schedule. And if I'm in the area, I'd love to have you come out to the live lectures. They are a lot of fun because I can teach you things physically that I can't teach you on radio because so much of healthcare is physical, not chemical, or things I can just talk to you about. I have to show you. So the website's a great source of information. A lot of people call about my Dr. Joe Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Those are on the website as well, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Now, if you're first time joining in, welcome. I want you to tell your friends about the show. That's important. Got to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody is enjoying the show. If you're just joining us, welcome. Glad you could be here. A lot of new cities picked up the show this week, so I'm glad you could all be here, and hopefully you're going to learn a lot of good information, as people have for many, many years that I've been on radio. And we're talking today about how does stress actually promote disease. You hear about that, but you don't know what it means. Like, well, I'm under stress. Is that going to give me a heart attack? Well, maybe, maybe not. Because there are certain things that when you're under stress that occur in your body, and if you know how to counteract those things, you're going to have a lot better chance of not getting sick. So one thing that happens is diseases can travel along something called your lymphatic system, which is a filter system in your body. And if cancer cells get into the lymphatic system, they can travel around and set up shop somewhere else. The stress hormones that are released, things like cortisol, also affect the pathways on which disease is spread. They're trying to determine how stress hormones affect the spread of cancer cells through the lymphatic system, but apparently they do. Mechanism that's found is related to a way the adrenaline activates the sympathetic nervous system. Now, there's two types of nerves in your body. One speeds you up, one slows you down. The sympathetics speed you up. Parasympathetics slow you down. So when you're under stress, you're in what's called the sympathetic mode. Now, stress is you're working, you're running a marathon, you're trying to get the house clean before company gets there, you're nervous about going on a first date. That's the sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic is sleep, going to the bathroom, romance. That's your slow down or your parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic speeds you up, parasympathetic slow you down. So it increases the rate of lymphatic formation. Now, lymph is the fluid that flows through your lymphatic system. Adrenaline also causes physical changes in the lymph vessels, allowing the cancer cells to migrate to other parts of the body. So adrenaline opens up your blood vessels. It allows the lymphatic system to flow more effectively, but in the process, you've kind of opened up a highway for these things to travel around. National Cancer Institute also previously stated that research with animal models suggests that your body's neuroendocrine response, there's a big word for you, the release of hormones in your body in response to stimulation of the nervous system, these are hormones now being released, can directly alter important processes in the cells that help protect against formation of cancer, such as DNA repair and the regulation of cell growth. So now you're under stress, you're releasing adrenaline, you're releasing cortisol and these other stress hormones, and now it's affecting how your body heals, the repair of the DNA. The DNA is in your cells. You may have heard that word before. The DNA is in every cell, and it's always being damaged, and then it's always being repaired. The stress hormones prevent it from being repaired properly. So stress is a big thing. And again, there's emotional stress, there's chemical stress, and there's physical stress. Other researchers show that stress hormone norepinephrine can increase the rate of cancer cells and how quickly they grow. So you don't have control over certain things. You're stuck in traffic, you're running late for work. Well, you may not have control over that. But you have control over certain stressors. And when you control these things, the body is a lot better able to deal with the things that you don't have control over. So, for example, if you're eating sugar, sugar weakens your immune system. If you read the second book I wrote, it's called Prescription for Extreme Health. We talk about how one white blood cell, on average, kills about 12 to 14 different bad guys or pathogens before it dies. If you eat the sugar that's found in one can of soda, that same white blood cell can now kill one pathogen before it dies. So essentially weakening your immune system 14 times. That's not a good thing, is it? And it drives me nuts when I see things like, we're going to raise money for cancer awareness, and we're going to have a bake sale. Like, have you read no research whatsoever on cancer and how sugar is like the worst thing you can give a cancer patient? And here we are selling sugars and drinking sodas, and diet sodas even worse. So you have to understand that you got to stop doing these things. And a famous guy once said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And you don't know. I understand that. That's why you're listening to this show. I'm teaching you the things you need to do to limit the chemical and the physical stress so that you can deal with the emotional stress. So I would say stay away from the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And you're thinking to yourself, but Dr. Joe, that's impossible. Because there's absolutely nothing in the world to eat except alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. I'm going to starve, and I don't want to starve. Wrong. There's 120,000 foods that you can eat that are good for you, that are tasty, that are inexpensive, that are fun, that are accessible. And as soon as you start doing it, the day you start doing it, you'll start to realize how easy it is, how inexpensive it is, and how good you're going to start feeling. So let's talk about how to deal with the chemical stress, like I said, the 7 deadly sins, because that's causing inflammation. It's releasing stress hormones, which is changing DNA repair and slowing down your healing process. So at least, I'm going to give you at least, and I'll give you the best scenario. At least I want you to have something raw at every meal. Now, when I say raw, broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, salad. The more raw food you eat, the better off you're going to be, because raw foods have something in it called enzymes. Enzymes break down food, they reassemble food, they fight infection, they fight inflammation. It's the reason kids heal so quickly, because kids produce a lot of enzymes. And then as we get older, our enzyme levels start to drop. That's called aging. So what you're doing is, when you age, your enzyme levels are dropping, which is slowing down your healing process. Raw food has enzymes in it, so you're replacing the enzymes that your body is using up by eating something raw. I'd also recommend you have something raw 1 meal a day, not just something raw at every meal. That's the minimum. Second thing is, have 1 raw meal a day. Now, that could be a salad meal. That could be broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, guacamole, because raw food, the more you eat, the better. Now, years ago, somebody came to me and said, Dr. Joe, what would you consider the world's best supplement? And I said, if somebody could take raw fruits and vegetables and put them in a pill, then you'd have the ultimate supplement. You'd get your essential nutrients from the source, and the source is fruits and vegetables. So I created a product. It's called Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and it's raw fruits and vegetables. We juice it, take the water out at a very low temperature so no enzymes are destroyed, and then we add prebiotics and probiotics, good bacteria. We add more digestive enzymes. We add a complete multivitamin, and that's a powder, and I take it every single day. And then I created something called Dr. Joe's Super Greens, which alkalize your system. Because every disease known to man does better, which is what we don't want, in an acid environment. And so by alkalizing the body, we're able to create an environment where the diseases don't like it. So the absolute minimum, and again, I'm not saying I treat diseases with this stuff. I'm saying I'm giving you the raw materials, the minimum amount of raw materials you need to get the body working. So I would say take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I take it every day, sometimes twice a day. If I have a big day, if I'm giving a lecture, if I've got to fly somewhere, I know I got to fly down in a couple of months to a big convention. I'm the guest speaker. If I'm going on a date, if I'm going hiking, I'll take a double dose of Super Greens and Essential Source. That's all. But I got to go to break soon. That information's on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. Also, we have an Amazon page. My books are there, Super Greens, Essential Source, a couple other supplements, my colon cleanser. We got the immune booster coming out real soon as winter comes in. We got a cold and flu tonic. So a lot of good stuff coming out as well. And that's all on the website, drjoeesposito.com. By the way, if you have questions, you could send me your questions through the website, drjoeesposito.com. Keep saying it a lot because you have to hear something 11 times to memorize it. And I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. But listen to the archive radio shows. If you hear a show that you think your friends need to hear, that's on the website. Just go there. It's no charge. I give it to you at no charge. Folks, got to go to break. Tell your friends about the show. Again, drjoeesposito.com. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. What we're talking about today is how chronic stress actually causes diseases to get worse. And you may have heard that, yes, chronic stress is bad for disease, but I want to give you the mechanism behind it because I always like to know the why. People can tell me things. I say, why is that happening? And so one of the things that happens is it affects what's called your lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is a filter system in your body. It filters out germs, viruses, bacteria, and it runs through your whole body. So when you're under chronic stress, the lymphatic system, your body releases something called adrenaline, and the lymphatic system opens up, and diseases can travel through your lymphatic system faster, and they can go from one place to another, kind of set up shop. So when you're in this what's called a sympathetic mode, this speed-up mode, this anxious mode, that can cause the disease to actually get worse. Now, norepinephrine is another chemical that's released, and it stimulates tumor cells to produce two compounds that break down the tissues around the tumor cells. That allows the cells to move easily through your blood system. So the tumor is surrounded by healthy tissue. When this norepinephrine is released, two compounds are released, and it's called MMP2 and MMP9, and it weakens the cells around it to allow the tumor to kind of spread even worse. So once it's there, they can travel to other organs and tissues and form additional tumors. That's what we call metastasis, a spreading of the disease. So we got to keep those hormones in check. Epinephrine, another stress hormone, has also been found to cause changes in certain cancer cells, specifically prostate and breast cancer, in ways that makes them more resistant to something called apoptosis. Now, that's a cool word, apoptosis. Apoptosis means that a cell commits suicide. So cells, just like you and everybody else, have an expiration date. And when a cell lives its life and it comes to the end of its life, it goes through something called apoptosis, and it dies. It tells itself to die. And so that cell dies off and you make new cells. Cancer cells, the cells don't have normal apoptosis, and so they start to multiply. And many times unchecked, because they're not dying, you just keep producing more of them. And so if you have a lot of epinephrine, that can prevent the apoptosis from occurring properly. So that means emotional stress can contribute to the development of cancer and reduce the effectiveness of treatments. Now, the emotional stress, like we say all the time, you may not have control over that, but you do have control over the physical and you have control over the chemical. So as a chiropractor, my team of doctors and I, we work on pain patients every single day, 7 days a week. Back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, headaches, car accidents, sports injuries. And so when we put the bones that are out of place back in place, it takes the stress off the nerve, so that helps relieve the pain. 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. So you can have a pinched nerve and not know it. So if you have a pinched nerve, we chiropractors can open up the nerve supply and get the nerve supply to the organs working more effectively. So we can remove the physical stress. A lot of people have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating. How many people have that? Raise your hands. A lot of you. I know you do, because I see you every day. I get emails from you every single day. Dr. Joe, I have acid reflux. I have heartburn. I have burping. I have gas. What do I do about it? Well, many times your stomach is pushing up against your diaphragm. You have a sheet of muscle called a diaphragm, and your stomach sits below it, and there's a hole in the diaphragm where food passes through and drops into your stomach. If the stomach pushes up into that hole, you might have something called a hiatal hernia, which can cause acid reflux. You can have, may not even be a full-blown hiatal hernia, but you can still have the reflux. And it's not just burping a lot. How about chronic cough? How about sinus problems? That could be a sign that you have the acid reflux. The acid is coming up into your throat. And so by manually pulling the stomach down away from the diaphragm, and if you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, look under articles, it says blog, and then it'll say Dr. Joe's articles. I think it's the sixth one down or seventh one down. It's on GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. And we talk about the techniques that we do, and that relieves the digestive stress in many cases that's caused by a physical problem. And then we fix the pinched nerves, which removes the physical stress, the swelling and the pain. And then you start eating good food. You start eating more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. You stay away from the alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And now you're addressing the physical stress and the chemical stress so that you can better handle the emotional stress. So not surprisingly, psychological or emotional stress can really take a toll on your heart as well. Your heart actually contains neurons similar to those in the brain. And your heart and your brain are closely connected. And this is something I want you to understand. And as we go through this, I hope you'll get this. One factor that causes a significant amount of stress for many of us is your job. And according to new research, there's a dose-dependent relationship between the number of hours you put in each week and the risk of developing heart disease. So if you're stressed out at your job, that's the emotional stress, the psychological stress, which now affects the physical, the heart. Recent study points out that Americans are more stressed than ever. In 2012, Carnegie Mellon University researchers reported that stress levels increased as much as 30% between 1983 and 2009. It's not a long time. A lot of you were alive between 1983 and 2009. Stress has gone up 30%. More recently, between 2014 and 15, the average stress levels rose from a 4.9 to a 5.1 on a 10-point stress scale, according to the American Psychological Association. The greatest increase was noted among adults reporting that they're under extreme stress. The category rose from 18% to 24%. So dealing with these things becomes an issue. And this is the irony of stress, is when you're stressed out, you're usually pretty stressed out, so you're too stressed out to do anything about your stress. So you're working two jobs. You're in a bad relationship. Got great advice years ago. I want to share that with you. A gal told me, she said, Joe, the only thing worse than being alone is wishing you were alone. I thought, that's a profound statement. The only thing worse than being alone is wishing you were alone. And I know a lot of people in relationships, sometimes it's work, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's romantic, sometimes it's children, where the stress is just overwhelming. And you just want it to stop, and you can't stop it because of whatever situation. So the stress there is on rise, and then that makes everything else harder. Well, you're working harder to try to make more money to deal with the home issues. And when you're working harder, you don't have time to eat properly, or you don't have time to get out and walk or exercise, or you don't have time to get some fresh air, or you don't have time to drink water. Something as simple as that. So, is your stress burning out something called your adrenal glands? There's little glands. They sit on top of your kidneys. And if you listen to my shows before, you know I talk about them a lot. They're two little glands. They look like walnuts. And they sit on top of your kidneys. And if you cut them open, and I've done this, I've dissected cadavers. When you cut them open, they have 3 layers. And one layer produces adrenaline. And one layer produces prostaglandins, which moderate inflammation. And so you can look at these 3 different layers. And when if those layers are being stressed, if one area is being stressed, it's going to affect the other areas. And the other layer, by the way, produces your sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. And so if you're under stress in one layer, because you're producing too much adrenaline, that can affect your inflammation. That can affect your hormones. And the hormones can now feed back and cause the inflammation to increase. Do you see where we're going with this? So one thing you can look for is if you have bags under your eyes. Bags under your eyes is indication that the adrenals are burned out if you're stressed out. Coffee can burn out your adrenals. Not enough water can burn out the adrenals. Pinched nerve in the mid-back. That's the nerve supply that goes into your adrenals. So folks, got to go to a break. If you have questions, send them to me through the website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world, and I'll answer your questions for you. More than happy to do that. You want to listen to archive radio shows, if you want to watch videos of my live lectures, those are on the website as well. That's my gift to you, drjoeesposito.com. A lot of good articles I wrote there, too. Hey, listen, got to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Thanks for staying with me. And if you're just joining us, welcome. Glad you could be here. What we're talking about today is how stress, the actual mechanism of how stress can affect your disease and increase your risk of diseases. And not just knowing that it's there, but what each different stress does to your body. So we started talking about adrenal glands before the break. Now, adrenal glands are little glands. They sit on top of your kidneys, and they produce adrenaline. It gives you energy. They produce anti-inflammatories and pro-inflammatories, too. And they produce your sex hormones. But once you're under stress, you go what's called a fight-or-flight syndrome. The adrenal glands start pumping out adrenaline like crazy. Now, adrenaline opens up your blood vessels. It increases your circulation. And it's a little bit is good. We love that adrenaline rush. But when it's chronic, when you're constantly under this, because your body thinks it's being attacked. And the body responds in a similar way, whether it's a chemical attack or a physical attack. Or emotional attack. So if I'm being chased by a lion, I'm going to pump out a lot of adrenaline. If I've got to get a project done, if I don't like my boss, if I'm in a bad relationship, if I just ate a bad dinner, toxic food, I'm not food that isn't healthy for me, I'm going to have these reactions. And when the adrenal glands start to fatigue, your resilience to stress is going to falter, and it could give out completely. So it makes you more hypersensitive to even minor stressors that normally wouldn't throw you off. You might have things like allergies. A little bit of pollen, a little bit of dog dander really sets you off because the adrenal glands are not doing their job. They can't do their job. They're burned out. Now, oftentimes, anxiety and panic attacks are an indication that you need adrenal support. Now, there are adrenal supplements that I recommend for my patients. I take something called Withenia, and I take Eleuthero. Now, these are herbs to help the adrenal glands. If you're a meat eater, there's some that have animal products in it. I use a company called Standard Process. That's a brand. And they make something called Drenamine. And I put just about all my patients on some type of adrenal support because most people are stressed out. So it's kind of important. Lingering and unsolved negative emotions such as fear, anger, guilt, and depression, these can put stress on your adrenal glands. How about overwork, including physical and mental strain, sleep deprivation, or light cycle deprivation or disruption, such as working the night shift or going to sleep too late or going to sleep with the TV on. That's a big problem too. Chronic inflammation, infection, or pain, because pain causes inflammation. I've had people already that had root canals, and the root canal causes a chronic inflammatory situation, and they're more sensitive after they have that. And so that's a whole nother lecture. Again, I'm not a dentist, but I have 2 root canals, and I wish I never had them. I wish I'd put bridges in there instead, because when you drill metal into the skull, it creates a low-grade inflammation. All dentists know that. And that low-grade inflammation, if you have other things, emotional stress, chemical stress, physical stress, not sleeping right, that just kind of compounds everything and makes it worse. Now, there's ways to measure your adrenal function. The most common, we do this, it's a salivary collection. We collect saliva on the patient. We give them little vials and have them fill it up with saliva, and then we can send it off to the lab and get it tested. And you're amazed because what's supposed to happen is your cortisol is released when you wake up in the morning. Your cortisol should be highest in the morning. And as you go through the day, your cortisol levels start to drop, and then your melatonin kicks in at night, and then you go to sleep. That's a perfect world. But if you're under chemical, physical, or emotional stress, the adrenal levels or the adrenaline levels stay high throughout the day, and so now you have trouble going to sleep because you're not kicking into that sleep cycle. So the adrenaline can cause all sorts of problems and eventually burn out, and then you're exhausted. And that's when you see people with things like chronic fatigue syndrome. And so we've really got to nourish those adrenal glands because they're bad. And then what do you do when you're tired? You drink something like coffee to try to give you a little boost. Now, coffee doesn't really give you energy. Coffee robs the body of energy. But Dr. Joe, that makes no sense what you just said. I drink coffee and I get a rush. Understand that. Coffee has a chemical in it called caffeine. In your brain is a chemical called adenosine, and adenosine is released in your brain and absorbed in something called the adenosine receptor sites. And that makes you tired. That's normal. You're supposed to get tired. When you drink coffee, caffeine looks like adenosine. So it blocks up the adenosine receptor sites, and so you don't get tired. But eventually your body says, I'm smarter than you. I'm going to make more adenosine receptor sites. And so now you need more coffee to block up these extra adenosine receptor sites so you don't absorb the adenosine so you don't get tired. And that's why drinking 1 cup of coffee may have been the norm for you, and then it went to 2 and 4 and 6 and 8 and 10. So now you're actually you're changing the physiological structure, the physical and the physiological function of the brain. And that's why when you come off your caffeine, many times you get a headache because the brain is saying, ow, it hurts. Something's wrong. And you have a cup of coffee, you're back on it again, but that doesn't really solve the problem. It just treats the symptoms. And my job as a chiropractor is not treat your symptoms. My job is get to the cause of the problem. And that's why we work so closely with other doctors. Many times I have to send a patient out. Listen, they need pain medication. They need psychological evaluation. They need a neurological workup. They need an MRI. They might need surgery. And so my team of doctors and I work very closely with a whole slew of other doctors, and we refer to them and they refer to us, and we'll call them up with questions. Well, what would you do in a case like this? And we go back and forth. In fact, just the other day, I met a doctor who does bariatric surgery. He puts sleeves and bands on people's stomachs so they don't eat as much food. And he said, I need to send my patients to a nutritionist. Because the problem is we can band their stomach. They're going to eat less food. They're going to lose weight. But as soon as we take the band off or loosen the band, bam, they're right back on it again. And they put the weight back on. He says, and then I don't look like I did my job. And he said, I'm doing my job, but they're not doing their job. So he wants to work with my team of doctors to do a nutritional workup on every one of his patients and recommend supplements. Like I always recommend Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source as the minimum amount of supplements you should be taking every day. Everybody should be taking supplements. I don't know anyone who doesn't need to take supplements. So Super Greens and Essential Source are powders. I mix them with coconut milk or almond milk. I don't do cow's milk. I don't do animal products. And I shake it up and I drink it. Tastes great. Somebody said the other day that sometimes it has a really rich flavor to it. I said, just dilute it more. Add some more coconut milk or almond milk or water or something along that line. However you get it in your body, I don't care. You can mix them together. You can take them separately. I mix them together because it's easier. But it's the minimum amount of nutrients. And boy, I tell you, talk about keeping your brain sharp and giving you a little burst of energy, helping you go to bathroom better, sleep better, romance is better. These are reports I get, and I can personally testify that Super Greens and the Essential Source are just amazing. So I think everybody should do it. If you want more information on that, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. And you can look at the Super Greens, the Essential Source, our colon cleanser we have there if the bowels aren't moving properly. My books are there, Eating Right for the Health of It, Prescription for Extreme Health. Really good information on the website. Hundreds of hours of radio shows, videos of live lectures that I've done, articles that I've written. And if you have questions, you can send them to me through the website. I'm more than happy to answer your questions for you. Because we all have one thing in common. We're all trying to become healthier. And so many people say, well, Dr. Joe, I don't even know where to start. Start with the Super Greens, the Essential Source. Send me your questions, whatever your specific problems are. Hey, follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. We send out lots of good information. If you go to my website and send me your email address, I'll put you on my newsletter. We don't send out a lot of stuff. We're not going to give out your email address. No breaches here. This isn't Equifax. We're not going to breach anything. But the website is there 24 hours a day for you, 7 days a week. Again, it's drjoeesposito.com or just Google Dr. Joe. Hey, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. Glad you could spend a little time with me today. I am Dr. Joe, and what we're talking about today is chronic stress and how it actually causes diseases to get worse and how it could actually cause diseases to spread. Because you always hear, well, stress is bad. I get that. But I'm giving you the rationale behind it, the science behind why these things happen. Because many times, I've been in practice over 32 years, many times patients come into our offices and they understand they need something, but they don't know what it is. And when I finally sit down with them and give them the rationale behind why, then it makes sense. Because I hit them with intellect. And it's really hard to beat the intellect. It's like, I can't argue with that because you're right. So a couple of things. But, before I get into that, I want to talk about something. This is big news. It just came out. Effective January 1st, accredited hospitals, that's any hospital in the country, will need to follow new Joint Commission pain standards. It's a big thing in the news right now about opioids. I'm sure you've seen it. People overdosing on opioids being a big problem. And, of course, as a chiropractor, we deal with this a lot because people come to us for pain management. And a lot of patients say, Doc, I've been taking the opioids. I need to get off them. I understand they're addicting or I'm already addicted. You got to help me as a chiropractor to get me out of pain. And my team of doctors, we're pretty good at getting people out of pain because it's usually a pinched nerve or a muscle spasm, a swollen disc. And if we can physically put everything back in place, we're in good shape. But the problem is that even anyone, you and me, if we start taking opioids, our brain stops producing its natural painkillers. And so what happens then is you come off the opioids and every little thing sets you off. You're so sensitive to pain that you go back on it, and that's what an addiction is. The Joint Commission has released new pain assessment and management standards that take effect January 1st for all accredited hospitals. The new and revised standards come in response to the country's opioid crisis, which today claims 91 American lives every day. 91 people a day are dying of prescription drug overdoses. Well, not prescription sometimes. Sometimes they're illegal. But of opioids, of painkillers. Joint Commission said we have to do something about this. Among the changes, this is what got me so excited. New standards will require hospitals to provide non-pharmacological pain treatment methods, alternatives that can include methods such as acupuncture and chiropractic care, as well as relaxation and cognitive therapy. Now, if you run a hospital and you don't know what to do, because this happens a lot, that suddenly somebody makes a law and people, I don't know what to do. So if you work in a hospital, if you run a hospital, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll help you set up protocols for your hospital, and then we'll see if we can meet the standards that need to be met so you don't have to worry about the Joint Commission coming after you and pulling your license. So, again, if you work in a hospital, or, again, if you're interested yourself, just reach out to me. My website is easy, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, and I'm more than happy to help you with those new protocols there. So, anyway, folks, I'm going to open up the phone lines. If you have a question, give me a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air, so in case you ever need to reach me, you can do that. drjoeesposito.com is the website, and Dr. Joe at drjoe@drjoeesposito.com is the website, and 844-44-DR-JOE is the phone number. I got too many Dr. Joes in my head there. So let's go back to stress management. And if you are under stress, there's physical, chemical, and emotional stress, you may not be able to deal or manage, I should say, or change the physiological stress or the psychological stress. So you might have cancer, you might have heart disease, you might have a bad relationship, you might have job money issues. These are issues that you may not be able to deal with, but you can deal with the physical and the chemical so that the psychological is a lot easier. Because if you're bombarding your body with mental stress and chemical stress and physical stress, and this is where people say, well, I want to have some comfort food. I've heard that word before. Have you heard that word before? I bet you have. Comfort food. And comfort food is never good. It's never broccoli. It's never Brussels sprouts. It's meatloaf with mashed potatoes and gravy. It's ice cream. It's cookies. It's cobbler. So if you're putting these toxic chemicals in your body from a chemical standpoint, and maybe you have neck pain or back pain or shoulder pain, you have a physical problem, and you have the emotional, your body just becomes overwhelmed. And the immune system now weakens, and as the immune system weakens, you're more likely to get sick or make the sickness that you have a lot worse. And it drives me nuts. If you've ever been in a hospital and saw what they feed people in the hospital, I just want to scream. I've had friends already in the hospital, sometimes for bad things, sometimes for good things, like having a baby or something, and I will bring them good food. I will bring them salads. I'll bring them avocados. I'll make guacamole. I'll give them Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And it's funny because a lot of times I'll bring a container of Super Greens, container of Essential Source to the hospital, sit on the little desk what you have next to your bed, and the nurses and the doctors come in and say, "Oh, you know Dr. Joe? Oh my gosh, I listen to him all the time. It's great. I love those products." So it's kind of an interesting twist that people know about it, but nobody's doing anything about it. Why isn't this being served in the hospital? I don't know that answer. That's a rhetorical question. So you need to take care of the minimum you should do nutritionally is take the Super Greens and the Essential Source, and those are on my website, drjoeesposito.com, also available on Amazon too. A couple of things you need to deal with too is sleep, because sleep is a big issue. So many people have sleep problems. So sleep deprivation dramatically impairs your body's ability to handle stress, and it's just another factor that could be related to things like cancer, heart attack. So you really want to get that fixed as quickly as possible. How do you do that? Well, one thing is, and this is something that happens a lot, is people say, well, Dr. Joe, I wake up, I have to pee. And that really interrupts my sleep. So if that's the case for you, I want you to stop drinking excessive fluids at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then by the time 9, 10, 11 o'clock rolls around, now you can have a sip or two. It's no big deal, but don't drink big glasses of water or smoothies or something like that, because you're going to have to pee. And when you're a kid, you have real strong bladder and you can hold your pee. I remember, if you remember kids, I remember being a kid, just waking up and going, oh my gosh, I got to go. And you'd be there for about 5 minutes, it seems. Your bladder could hold that much. I remember my mother making fun of me, like, how did you get all that pee in you? Well, you're a kid, you're stronger. As we get older, the bladder isn't as strong as it used to be. So start to consider that if urination is an issue. Temperature is important. 68 to 72 degrees is ideal sleeping. If it's wintertime, we find that people who sleep with socks oftentimes sleep better. Now, you got to find what works for you. Shut down the internet in your house. If you have Wi-Fi, before I go to bed, I have a button. I click it. It shuts off my Wi-Fi. Because electromagnetic frequencies can also be affecting your sleep. So that's a problem too. So little things like that can make a big difference when it comes to your health. Folks, that music means I got to go to a break. If you have a question, give me a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We're the number one Dr. Joe in the world. If you want to order Super Greens, Essential Source, send me questions through the website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And what we're talking about today is how stress, the physiology behind stress and what that does to your immune system and what that does to diseases in your body. So we're going to go to the callers. If you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. Oh, and we just lost her. Alicia, where'd you go? I missed you. Anyway, question was about Hashimoto's disease and what do you do about that? Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune disease where the thyroid gland is being attacked by its own cells. And when that occurs, it's a thyroiditis. Itis means inflammation, and that's not a good thing. So what we have to do then is try to calm down the immune system. And what we do, this is advice for everybody, not just people with Hashimoto's, is you got to stop putting the things in your body that are causing the immune system to become so hypersensitive. And the number one and two things I find with people like this is you want to give up wheat and dairy products. And in fact, I think everybody should give up wheat and dairy products because dairy is the number one food allergen. It's the number one food that you're going to put in your body and cause an allergic reaction. Wheat is the number two food allergen. And wheat, you heard a lot about gluten. That's a big buzzword now, gluten, gluten, gluten. Well, gluten has components called gliadin and glutenin. So gluten is a general term, and these are the things that make up gluten. And they can cause an inflammatory reaction because your body says, what is this foreign protein? And it attacks the foreign protein. The problem is that the gluten many times looks like the cells in your colon. And so if your immune system is just slightly off, it not only is going to attack the gluten, it's going to attack the cells in the colon as well, causing a systemic inflammatory reaction. There's a big word. Systemic means through the whole body, and inflammatory means inflammation. So the body now is going into this inflammatory state, and that inflammation can go through your whole body. It can cause sinus problems. It can cause the brain to swell and get brain fog and cause you not to remember things. So I'm going to give you this challenge. I want you to give up. Everybody should do this. Give up all wheat and all dairy. Do it for a week. Do it for 10. Let's go 10 days. Let's go crazy. 10 days. No wheat, no dairy for 10 days. Tell me how you feel. And especially as winter starts to roll in, cold and flu season rolls in, wheat and dairy just increase the inflammatory reaction that occurs in your body. But I find people that have thyroiditis or any type of inflammatory reaction, which we all do, when you give these things up, you're just amazed how good you feel. And people say, why didn't I do this sooner? It's the biggest question I get in my office. Number one question. Why didn't I do this sooner, Dr. Joe? I don't know. It's you. I don't know why you didn't do it sooner. But it works very, very well by stop putting the junk in your body, and then the body is able to deal with the stressors, other stressors. It's like I said, the soldiers, your immune system are busy taking care of other stuff. They don't have to deal with something silly like wheat and dairy products that's real easy to avoid, and then the body heals. If you have a question, give me a call, folks. Lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. And again, that number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. So, things you can do to help deal with the stress. We talk about the chemical stress. Stop putting the bad food in your body. Put the good food in your body. Eat more fruits. Eat more salads. Eat more vegetables. Take at least Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Minimum amount of supplements right there. And what we do with our patients when people come in, and we do this for people all over the world because the show is heard coast to coast and around the world, is we can do it on Skype or we can do a phone consultation for nutrition. But I really like to meet with the person and discuss their healthcare problems one-on-one if we can. And we discuss the patients. We say, listen, if you're going to be a chiropractic patient with us, we want you to get the best results possible. So we'll take care of the physical, as long as you show up for your appointments, but you've got to take care of the chemical. And when we get that team, we start working together, it's a pretty cool thing. So we ask them to at least take Super Greens and Essential Source, and we may recommend other supplements as well. The adrenal glands, I've talked about those a lot. The adrenal glands can burn out. And if they burn out, it adversely affects your immune system. So we may put them on adrenal supplements, maybe cardiac supplements. Depends what the patient needs. We'll get them on that as well. Getting out and learning new things is excellent for your brain. Your brain needs oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition in order to work. Most of us don't give it enough of those three things. Stimulation is learning things, listening to this radio show. Go to my website, listen to my podcasts, hundreds of hours of podcasts on my website. No charge. My gift to you. Watch the videos. We have a YouTube channel with lots of videos on it. And some people are visual learners, so watch the videos. This is going to stimulate your brain, which is actually going to help the immune system. Oxygen. Most of us are sitting all day. When we sit, we compress our lungs. We got to get up. When I do my radio show, I stand up. Ahmad's standing up right now, my producer. So when you stand up, you're opening up your lungs and you're breathing a whole lot better. And then you have to give it the right nutrition, which again, Super Greens, Essential Source, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Do what I say for a week, 2 weeks. And if I'm wrong, so what? I'm wrong. But if I'm right, which I am, you'll say, yeah, this makes sense, and it's so much cheaper than anything I'm doing right now. Aromatherapy works real well. If you're going to do aromatherapy, make sure you do pure essential oils. Make sure you're not doing some cheap stuff because there are knockoffs out there of essential oils. You don't want that. Many times they'll say like the things you plug into the wall for air fresheners, made with essential oils. But there's so many other chemicals in there, and they maybe put a drop of essential oil in there. But essential oils are great. You could even take something like lavender oil and put it on your feet at night. It'll help you sleep. It gets absorbed right into your body. So if you start studying essential oils, you'll kind of learn. Just go to any good health food store or just look them up online. Different essential oils do different things. But that can help with stress as well. Meditation, of course, is going to be awesome. If you've never meditated before, real simple stuff. Breathing. So many times we just don't breathe. And I want you to think about that right now. Think about it. Are you breathing? I mean, of course, you're breathing somewhat. But I want you to, if you're sitting down, if you can stand up, great, stand up. Take a deep breath. I want you to inhale for a count of 4, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for a count of 1. Exhale for the count of 5. This way you know you're getting enough breathing. If you've never done yoga, folks, I recommend you do yoga. And there's different levels of yoga. If you're wheelchair bound, you can do yoga in a wheelchair. So start doing what you can do, and you'll build up from there. If you have to use a walker and just walk from your bed to the bathroom, that's fine. But do it as often as possible, and that'll get the body working. So it's important we get the immune system working because that's going to help the stress, but the stress can burn out the immune system. So you kind of got a battle going on, and you've got to win this thing. And it's not hard. It's easy. And as a chiropractor, of course, we deal with the physical stress, the neck pain, the back pain, the shoulder pain, the numbness, the tingling, the muscle weaknesses. Those are the chiropractic things that when we adjust the patient, that helps reduce their physical stress and their pain, which then allows them to deal with the psychological stress as well. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. When we come back, we're going to talk about the gut, how important your digestive system is to your stress level, and how your digestive problems, your gas, your bloating, your acid reflux, how that's adversely affecting your health. It's not a good thing. If you want to order the Super Greens, the Essential Source, want more information, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, because we're the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Hundreds of hours of podcasts on the website, videos. Send me questions. Send me questions through the website too, folks. If you have questions, if you don't get on the air, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. But the number here, if you have a question, is 844-44-Dr. Joe, which rings through to my offices. So when we come back, lots to talk about. We're going to talk about a link between the brain and the immune system. We're going to talk about the digestive system, how the gut bacteria actually boosts cancer immunity, and why it's so important that people are being treated for chronic diseases get their digestive system working. Again, the website for you, the number, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm having a great day. I always have good days. I have good days and better days. What we're talking about today is chronic stress and how that actually affects the spread of disease in your body. And there's physical stress, there's chemical stress, and there's emotional stress. And the big one, you hear me talk about this all the time, is digestive stress. Because it's amazing. Your body is just amazing that you can take something like a double beef cheeseburger and it becomes eye tissue or blood vessels or heart muscle. How your body can take something that is inherently bad and convert it into something that's inherently good. Now, in the process, usually most of that occurs in the liver. It puts a major stress on the liver, and eventually your liver is going to come back and bite you. You can't get away with this forever. You will have to pay the price. You always pay for your sins, 100% of the time. So if you have a bad diet, it's going to come back and get you. So the digestive system is a key here. Because as a chiropractor, we look at the nervous system and we look at the digestive system and we look at good nutrition. But you have a lot of control over the digestive system. So science has confirmed that a balanced gut where good bacteria outnumber the bad is often linked to a stronger immune system. 70% of your immune system is in your digestive system. So if you don't have a good digestive system, it's going to affect your immune system, which is going to lead to diseases. So, good bacteria also dramatically amplify the effects of cancer immunotherapy treatments. So if you are getting treatment for not just cancer, but any disease, having a healthy gut is going to make the treatment work better. So many times, patients go to the doctor and say, all right, doc, fix me. And the doctors usually don't say to the patient, you're going to have to help me. All right, I'm going to put you on this medication. I'm going to do this surgery, and all that's fine if necessary. You need chiropractic care, whatever it is. But if you don't participate, you're not going to get all the results that you possibly could be getting. The results are published in the journal Science. Now, there's lots of research in cancer and immunotherapy, and in fact, that's the new direction that cancer research is going, is immunotherapy. Instead of trying to kill the cancer, we're trying to get your immune system stronger so that it kills the cancer. So all the things I've been talking about for the past 30, 40 years have now once again come to fruition. It's in the Dr. Joe was right column. This is what we need to do to get the body healthy, is have the body healthy, and then diseases many times don't show up. I got to take some callers. I know a lot of you have called in. If you have a question, give me a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, D-R-J-O-E. Mary, how can we make your day better?
Hi, Dr. Joe.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, I have a son who's got sensory issues. He has had them his whole life. He's 16 now. We've tried so many things to help him get a better diet.
Sure.
But due to his sensory issues, he has been diagnosed just recently with ARFID, which is called Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder.
Sure.
And he self-restricts and self-avoids these foods because of his sensory issues, like the taste, the smells, the textures.
Sure.
And so, I've tried as a mom all kinds of things, brain balance, everything, but still trying to find different ways for him to get good nutrition that he will like.
Absolutely.
And he will be able to tolerate. So how do you get a person who's been eating just plainly, mostly dairy and wheat products and some fruit, to get, your leafy greens and all those kinds of things that you need.
Yeah, the things that he's eating is making his issue worse, which is now you got stuck in this cycle. Exactly. So a couple of things you can try. Number one, you can try putting him on a gluten-free pasta. Now, you might try quinoa pasta or rice pasta. It's not going to be exactly like wheat, but maybe we can slowly make a transition. And it's not offensive in any way. It has not a lot of flavor to it. It just has more texture. And try to get them off the things that have the gluten, which is the gluten gliadinin and wheat germ agglutinin, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in wheat. And the other thing that we're finding now is a popular practice that's come into play in the past couple of years is when the wheat crop comes ready to harvest, if we kill the wheat crop before we harvest it, it's less stress on the machines that harvest it. So they're spraying glyphosate, which is weed killer, on the wheat to kill it.
Oh, yes, Roundup.
There you go. Yeah. So what's happening is you're having this sensitivity to the glyphosate. And that's where a lot of people are now having more and more issues with wheat. It may not be the wheat. It might be the glyphosate sensitivity. The dairy, maybe if we can't get them off dairy and get them to like a plant-based dairies, like there's all sorts of different brands of cheeses that are good. Dye is one of them. Follow Your Heart is another one. They're vegan cheeses. They're non-dairy cheeses. Try that. At least do organic cheeses and organic dairy with them.
We have changed to organic.
Good.
Yes,
okay,
because I've found many people are testing for glyphosates in food products.
Yes.
You'd be surprised. They're in organic products too.
Oh, well, they're everywhere, but at least it's less, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then if he has acid reflux or heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, chronic cough, chances are he has the stomach pushing up against the diaphragm, and we need to massage or pull the stomach down away from his diaphragm to get it physically fixed. That'll make them a little less sensitive, and that'll help start adding new foods to the diet. You can try the Super Greens in the Essential Source. Maybe just take a teaspoon, mix it up, maybe with whatever fruit he likes, frozen banana or something, mix it up and try a little bit at a time and see if we can get him on a Super Greens, the Essential Source, to start getting there. And then in cases
that would be great.
Yeah, and then in cases like that, I oftentimes, I do a nutritional workup and I recommend supplements, pills as well. If he won't, take anything else, at least we can get some pills in his body to get some nutrients. So if you want to call my office, during business hours, I'd be more than happy. You can set up a time to do a nutritional consult with me.
That would be awesome.
Okay. There you go, Mary.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've seen this before. Hopefully we'll get them fixed up. Thanks so much. Yeah, folks, if you have a question, 844-44 Dr. Joe, that number rings through to my offices when I'm not here. And my website, once again, I say it a lot because, people are always in and out on radio. And so you got to keep giving things out all the time. The website is drjoeesposito.com. And you can get the Super Greens, the Essential Source there. Amazon, we have an Amazon page. You can order it there as well. But that's the minimum amount of nutrients you should be taking every day is the Super Greens, the Essential Source. And they're powders. All right, Joanne called in. She didn't want to come on the air. She has a question about depression. What natural steps can she take because she's worried about all the chemicals in the medication? So one thing you have to look at with depression, it goes back to the digestion again, kind of ties in, is if you have acid reflux or heartburn, you're not breaking your proteins into something called amino acids. The amino acid tryptophan eventually becomes serotonin in your brain, and serotonin helps with depression. So a lot of times, in fact, in the 32 years I've been practicing, every anxiety, depression, bipolar, ADD, ADHD, every patient I find has a digestive problem that hasn't been fixed. And when we gently massage the stomach to get it to relax, then you start breaking your proteins into amino acids, and the tryptophan becomes serotonin, tyrosine becomes dopamine, glutamine becomes GABA, norepinephrine. And so the amino acids coming from your stomach are the things that make the neurotransmitters that help with the depression. If you go to my website again, Mary, drjoeesposito.com, and I have a really good article on there on ADD. So go under blog, it's Dr. Joe's articles, read those. You'll find some real good information about what I just explained to you, how the brain works with the digestive system and what we need to do to get it broken down properly. So, and the website's there 24 hours a day, drjoeesposito.com. A lot of good articles, videos of live lectures, the information about the supplements. But the thing about the website is if you have questions, send me the questions through the website. I'm more than happy to answer your questions for you because all of us have questions. And if you want to call into the show, I know some people like Joanne don't want to go on the air. The number here is 844-44 Dr. Joe, or just you can Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. And if you want to make appointments, it's all there. But I want to talk some more. I've got to go to a break. I want to talk some more about how the gut dramatically boosts cancer immunotherapy and also helps the body stay healthy, not just with cancer, but with other diseases. Folks, got to go to break. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Glad you could spend a little time with me. Got a last segment here. So if you missed the show, by the way, we're going to archive this on my website, and you can listen to this and hundreds of hours of other shows as well, and the website, drjoeesposito.com. So we're talking today about how chronic stress promotes the spread of disease. And researchers introduced a particular strain of bacteria into the digestive systems of mice with melanoma. And they were startled to find it boosted the animal's immune system so effectively the tumor-reducing effects were comparable to anti-cancer drugs. So when they built up the mouse's immune system by putting good bacteria, certain types of bacteria, into their colon, it worked just as well as taking the anti-cancer drugs. It was interesting, too, because mice purchased from the Jackson laboratory had a more notable, robust immune system and smaller tumors implanted under their skin. Mice from a different system, a different place where they bought them, however, showed weak immune responses. The researchers put the mice together from both sources for 3 weeks, and their discrepancies disappeared. So just the sick mice living with the healthy mice. It changed the bacteria in their colon, which changed their immune system. Isn't that wild? So this is why in cancer research, we're seeing a lot of leaning toward immunotherapy, getting your immune system working properly. And so much of that has to do with your colon. So if you have acid reflux, burping, gas, diarrhea, chronic inflammation, runny nose, folks, you're destroying the bacteria in your colon. And a lot of times, if you're eating commercial meats and dairy products, they use a lot of antibiotics in the production of animal products. And when you're eating them, you're taking low doses of antibiotics. And over time, that can have an adverse effect on the good as well as the bad bacteria. It's like taking these low doses of antibiotics all day, every day. So it's one of the many reasons I don't eat animal products. I haven't had any animal products in over 30 years. I'm not asking you to be me. I'm not asking you to go to that level. I was going to say extreme, but it's really not extreme. But I want you to understand that if you knew what I knew, you would do what I do. Because the research, I've been researching this now for over 3 decades, the research is pretty clear that I've been right all along. Gut bacteria influence the differentiation and function of systemic T cells. Now, T cells, they teach your other cells how to do their job. So you need the T cells to work properly. And if you're not stimulating the proper T cell function, it's not going to teach the other ones how to work. So they took the microbes that were responsible for the improved immune response. They transferred fecal matter from the one set of mice that were healthy from the other set of mice that were weak. And the weak mice grew stronger, their immune responses grew, and their tumors grew slower. Now, they've been doing this with humans as well. I don't know if you heard about this. They're doing fecal transplants. And I know that sounds a little weird, but skinny people have different bacteria in their colon than fat people. Now, I used to be fat, so I can say the F word on the radio. So I used to be fat. And by taking the bacteria from skinny people and actually transplanting it into the colon, it changes the bacteria and it changes your metabolism. Now, I don't recommend this. I think it's probably early on in the research, but it's pretty telling, if you will, that the immune system and the colon are so tied together. As soon as 5 days after the fecal transplant, they saw that the delay of tumor growth was there, and it boosted the immune system in the mice. So it's been happening now in humans. It's been going on in mice, so it's pretty important that you understand that this is happening. So the scientists are finding a direct link between the brain and the immune system. New discovery by a team of researchers at University of Virginia may call for the reassessment of basic assumptions of neuroimmunology, the field involved in the study of the nervous system and the immune system. Direct link between the brain and the immune system via lymphatic vessels that were previously not known to exist was found. Similar to blood vessels, which carry blood throughout the body, lymphatic vessels carry immune cells throughout the body. So we didn't know this, and it's amazing. I've done dissections. Dissections have been going on since I don't know, Leonardo da Vinci's time. And we're still finding new things in the body that we didn't know existed. And it's really cool. And this is one of the things we just found. Increasingly clear that your brain, your immune system, and your gut are intricately related. Autism, for instance, is associated with gastrointestinal problems and potentially an overreaction to the immune system. Now, if you've been listening to me for the past 3+ decades, you know that I've been talking about autism, ADD, ADHD, anxiety, depression, and the link between the digestive system and the brain. And here now the University of Virginia backing me up. So we can put that in the Dr. Joe was right column. It's reported, moreover, neurological diseases like multiple sclerosis and Alzheimer's have long been linked to changes in the immune function and the immune diseases of the gut, like Crohn's disease and correlated psychiatric illnesses. This is what I've been talking about for decades. If you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, you have a bad diet, the bacteria in your colon aren't right, it's going to affect diseases and it's going to affect the psychiatry. Many times I'll get calls from psychiatrists, psychologists, people in the mental health field, and they say, Dr. Joe, I never realized it, but you're right. All the patients we treat have bad gas, they pass gas a lot, they have acid reflux, chronic cough, bloating, because the digestive system is not working properly. These are all symptoms. It's telling you something's wrong. Don't ignore the symptoms. As a chiropractor, patients come to my office and they say, Dr. Joe, why do I have neck pain? Why do I have back pain? Why do I have, numbness, tingling, headaches? And I tell them all the same thing. Let's try to find out why you're having your problem and treat the cause, not treat the symptoms. Now, if you have a headache, you want to take some painkillers, fine with that. Got back pain, fine with that. But as long as you're working toward getting to the cause, we're going in the right direction. If you just keep covering it up and wait till it comes back and cover it up again, you're not getting to the cause. And in most cases, we can find a cause. Not everyone. We can't help everyone. But we help a major majority of patients. And the biggest complaint we get is, why didn't I do this sooner? So once again, if you see somebody with an emotional component, and I know a lot of you listening either have it or know somebody who has it, I want you to start thinking about their digestive system. Take the stress off the digestive system. Stop putting things that are so hard to digest. Hydrogenated oils, chemicals, additives, dyes, animal products. These are so hard for the body to break down. Start thinking what's easy to break down. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. These are very easy to break down. Get the nervous system working properly. The neck pain, the back pain. Try to find out the cause of the problem. And if you don't know what to do about the acid reflux in the stomach, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com. Click on blog and read under Dr. Joe's articles. You can read the article I did on GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Folks, the website's a great source of information. I think everybody should be taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, almost everybody. If you want to order them, you can get them on my website. You can also go to Amazon. We have a page there. And if I didn't get you, if you're on hold, folks, keep holding on. If you have a question, I didn't get you on the air today, you can send it through my website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, we'll catch you next time.